Hello, Cass. Welcome to the Branson Centre Studio 17. I'm so excited to talk to you. Just in the few minutes that we spent together before we went live, I've already been inspired, I've been challenged, I've had a good laugh, and so I'm hoping that's what we're going to do whilst we have this conversation today. So hello.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your time. Cass, obviously you have a story. Tell us a little bit more about who you are, and then we'll go into why we're having this conversation in relation to the work we're doing in the Ocean Innovation Challenge.
Okay, my name is Ahmed Collier. I'm a professional surfer, surfing coach. I've been surfing all my life and been in the ocean all my life. I won the Big Wave World Championships in 1999 in Todos Santos, Mexico, and I'm a triple Western Province surfing champion. My journey of life has really been in the ocean, and I'm currently coaching from Muizenberg Beach, where I've been coaching since 1999. I've just seen the face of surfing in South Africa since that time till now. I'm still competing. I just returned from the SHMs in Durban about a month ago, and that's who I am.
I mean, Cass, you're very casual about being world champion, triple SA champ, master surfer, all of that. So I'll leave it at that. But I mean, that is an incredible journey in terms of who you are as a surfer. Who are you, or do you even exist outside of surfing, or is this exactly who you are all the time?
No, obviously, I've got a beautiful family and my wife, Kelly. She's a teacher at the Waldorf School. So I have my family, my 4 kids, and my granddaughter. She just turned 2 on Sunday. So
the terrific twos, not the terrible twos.
Terrific 2 for sure. So it's beautiful because I think there's so much in life. And, surfing is just one aspect of my life, and the ocean. There's so much to live for, I think, in this time. I have my family and I have my culture as a Rasta person, and that I'm learning about and experiencing things, and then also the people that I've met on the journey. I think for me, this journey that I'm on, it's very beautiful. It allows you to travel a bit, and like I said, I was in Durban. I traveled a bit to Durban, and it's just nice to meet all and see all those people that you know, and to see them again. It rejuvenates you, So. I'm also learning about myself. I'm going to be 51 years old in November. I'm still on the journey. I think, I have a philosophy, health is wealth, and in order to be healthy, it's quite an effort and it's a discipline. It's not like you can't just be healthy, So having a sport and having something like surfing and having the ocean also, as kind of like the arena to do it. It's really, for me, I think, that's my greatest blessing in life. As a surfer also, I think that's why most surfers don't realize that it's the love of the ocean more than the actual riding of the waves,
Right.
So, I'm still discovering myself, and I'm just glad to, have my children and have my granddaughter and hopefully grandkids around me, and been able to grow with them and also introduce them to the ocean.
Yeah.
My son's an avid competitor now.
Does he compete against you?
Not really against me, but we probably will compete in the future. I think also having your family with you in sport, and if you're competing, it kind of takes it humbles you a lot, man, So I think the day when I do compete with him, then I think he'll beat me probably,
You never know. So when did your love affair with the ocean begin? Whether it was your relationship through surfing or being in proximity to the ocean, but when can you dial back and say this is when this whole relationship started?
Yeah, my dad is Ahmed Collier. He's very dark skinned, so he was the kind of the first surfer to go out into the whites only beaches that had those signs up, and go surf there. Not because of the science, but just because the best waves, as a surfer, you just wanted to surf the best waves, you know. So when he went to go and do that, it created like chaos in the surfing world. But he's the first one to break down those kind of barriers and to show us, his kids, how beautiful like the Cape coastline is and how many beautiful magical beaches we have. And you just need like one day in like Cape Point Nature Reserve at the beaches there to realize how beautiful it is, because you've got all these wild animals walking around, and the quality of wave is so good, and the quality of environment and air is it's so good, you know. So he kind of, as kids, like I can remember, I couldn't even walk yet, but I remember the beaches, you know, the white sand and the waves, the quality of the waves. So I grew up on the ocean around Scarborough and around Komaki, Noatuk, Camps Bay beaches, Glen Beach, Llandudno beaches, Sandy Bay, and like I was surfing those waves. So I was very young and I was surfing the waves, and
I mean, this is at a time where people who look like you and me probably wouldn't have been allowed on those
yeah,
beaches.
yeah. This is in the height, not in the height, but this is like in apartheid days. So it created a lot of kind of controversy, but my dad and my older brother were always there to protect me and to keep me safe. So I think the love of the ocean, obviously, it came from my father and my mother, because that was their place to go to. And they didn't go to Blue Waters or to Stamfontein or to Monoabisi Beach, where we were supposed to go, because that was the only beach we were allowed to go to. They went to Komaki and to Noatuk and to these beaches, and we went to surf those waves. And it was off. There was a lot of resistance, you know, with surfers, people within the communities. And, you know, when you talk about that and when you think about those things, like in the back of your mind, there's always negative, but there's a positive side to it also. It made a stronger person in me. You know what I mean? And now when I talk to my kids about it and that, they can't seem to fathom that kind of situation, you know, which is great, because it means that it's dead, it's buried, and it needs to also be forgotten. But in order for it to be forgotten, we need to know all communities, all kinds of people, because we're all the same. We need to know that it's equal. There's an equality to our participation in anything we do.
Yeah.
And like for our kids also, you know, my daughter's finishing a matric at Zikoflay High, and it's the same school that the gentleman was talking about where he did his matric. But I'm sure if he went back to the school now, and now it is now, there's very little change in the school. And I don't know if he can recall, but next to the school there's like a dump, you know, right next to the school. And that dump's still there, and it's probably years and years that's gone, you know. So other kind of communities won't allow that to happen, you know. So for me, being involved in sport and trying to create a equilibrium within the sport and the transformation aspect, it's difficult to attend to it because there's other social issues that's there.
Yeah.
That people don't see.
Yeah.
You know, and that the athlete that's in that environment, it takes so much for him to be able to excel on the day that he needs to excel. He might not even make it there on time, you know. And I often see it because, I mean, I can relate to also competing maybe on the way the tire bursts and you're late for the contest. It's happened to me. It's normal. But sometimes there's abnormal circumstances that allows our athletes not even to attend the meet.
Can't even show up.
You know what I mean? So like, you know, it's just become a norm in South Africa, that kind of thing, man. And it's nice. I'm happy to be where I am and this journey that I'm on to change it. And I can see it's changing, and I can see the next generation of surfers they're highly skilled, but they also have like managed, you know, they become their own managers and their own coaches, and they've taken on this learn to surf programs and creating their own businesses within the surfing industry quite seriously. And it's beautiful to see, because it used to be just white orientated, but now it's of all colors and of all cultures. And you're going to have all different cultures of surf groups coming out of the development aspect of it. And hopefully in the future, when they have events like the Masters events that I went to, and the junior events, and then you'll also have the open events, because it's obviously they need to divide it, because it's big numbers, and maybe sponsors look for different aspects of their sponsorship within the different age groups. But it'll be beautiful to have an amalgamation of the whole sport, you know what I mean, together at events, to show the number of people participating in the ocean, And I think also the schools, I'd like to start a school program, because there isn't a good
Not
swimming and
seeing
surfing program, in South Africa, especially schools along the coast. Because then they can also get involved in the cleanup operations, you know what I mean? And that's a passion for me now, because from the competition aspect to coaching, and then now that I've been coaching for almost 20 years, I've also realized that I need to start cleaning up the ocean a bit more.
So it's almost like the 3 C's in terms of competition, coaching, cleanup.
But
what it does is it also paints this full picture of your vast experience in terms of the surfing, but your involvement with what's going on in terms of ocean economy, ocean communities, even if you don't give these things those names, where we're, as a Branson Centre, are very curious to understand what is going on in the ocean economy. We're very curious to understand what kind of innovation can exist through entrepreneurs in terms of, either repairing the ocean, sustaining the ocean, and making sure that we live well with the ocean. And so I'm curious to find out, because you've painted a picture, maybe perhaps in terms of what's been going on in your world, in terms of the surfing community, what's going on with the competitions over the years. Are you able to paint a picture of what you've seen in terms of changes, whether they're good or bad, in relation to the ocean itself, seeing that you've been so close to the ocean for a few decades now?
If you had asked me this question 5 years ago, I always had a kind of, from experience, I think it's being in the ocean my whole life, you need to weigh it up on experience and being there, I've been in the ocean. So I've never seen that. And I often thought, when I heard about it being brought up into mainstream media, and basically the philosophy that, the ocean's getting destroyed fast, and that pollution is evident, it's happening in front of our faces. And it's within the media and within the people that attention's been brought. Because the beaches I surf and the beaches I go to, it's always been like that. You have what you call this brown water on Muizenberg Beach. Some people call it red tide, other people call it pollution. Different newspapers call it different things, But through all of it, I'm coaching in it, I'm surfing in it. It's always been there. When we couldn't surf at Muizenberg Beach, we surfed at a beach called Cemetery, which was the beach next to Muizenberg Beach. And there, that red tide and that kind of brown water is much more, it's more consistently there than when it comes down into Muizenberg Corner. And I remember one day I coached in it, and everybody couldn't, because it was just too thick and brown. It looked almost like the sewage system just burst right here. And the whole of Cape Town sewage was there, the color and the texture.
Right.
But it had nothing to do with E. coli or sewage or anything. Because I know what it is, And then I had to coach in it, because my student was leaving the next day, and here we were, the two of us, and I kept saying to him, don't swallow, don't swallow any water, please, whatever you do, because I've never seen it so bad. And I was coaching, and I ended up swallowing some of the water. And he also swallowed some of the water, and it was a really bad day.
Right.
And there was no, so what I'm trying to say is, that was 5 years ago. Now, I see a lot of plastic pollution and a lot of cigarette butts in Musenberg Corner, and I have never seen that. So, and it's bad. And now when I go to other beaches, I'm more conscious of while I'm walking down to the beach or when I'm coming up, just to like actually to see now if it's at these beaches too. And it's there, it's there. It's like it's creeping right onto the beach kind of thing. And on the festive season days, the big days at Musenberg, the dirt bins just overflow like for 3 days. And I mean, at the end of the day, if you got dirt to throw away and the dirt bin's overflowing, the only place you can put it is just on the overflowing dirt bin kind of thing. So, education, man, kind of thing, program as surfers and as beach lovers, and that we can create, like you were speaking earlier of creating entrepreneurs, creating new ideas and new things that will help to keep the beach clean. I think surfers, young surfers, would be like they'd go to bed, like thinking about the dirt that they just saw, and wake up with a plan. You know what I mean? And the inspiration of the ocean and riding those waves and getting those barrels and things like that. It inspires a person's soul. You know, so it's not just a sport. You know what I mean? That's why it was known as a sport of kings. When they say surfing came out of Hawaii and that only the kings were allowed to surf, it's more like surfing was an African, because the whole world was Africa. Before Hawaii was Hawaii, the whole world was Africa. And then the earth was split and divided. And so African people went
everywhere.
We went everywhere. So we're all African.
Yeah.
The whole world is Africa. So when they say Hawaii and they speak of that noble kind of spirit and that aloha spirit, I relate it to Africa and the aloha-ness of Africa, and that all people have it. It's got nothing to do with color, with hair texture, the way you speak or your religion, you know what I mean? It's just about the people of the earth. We all exist, and the ocean's all around us, and we also water. We 90% water.
Yes. And we come from water,
and we need water. We're born in water. So water is a very big part of our life, and the ocean obviously is that part. That's the water that we need to take care of. You know what I mean? And whether you live on the coast or whether you live inland, you've never seen the coast. Your pollution ends up in the ocean.
Yep.
No matter which way the wind blows, your sewage ends up in the ocean. So you are part of the ocean. And I think surfing has an amazing ability with the imagery that it has of capturing those waves and us as surfers, and especially now since women surfing is taking off and the numbers have increased, like. And the performance and the level of surfing by the women, it's increased so much that you could actually, women and men could compete in the near future. I think there's not going to be a woman organization and a men, it's going to be one organization. And it's beautiful to see, you know what I mean? Because also the feminine aspect of women, it's needed within the sport. So now to see the development aspect and to see all those surfers of color and all those warriors, and fit bodies, men and women, to also step out of the shadow of needing more development funds to get to the next event, or needing a surfboard from one of the guys, or needing a broken wetsuit to get through to the... No, we need to set our goals higher. We need to know that if you've made a team or if you represent your province and, that you've attained a certain level.
And you're enabled.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And you weren't supposed to even attain that level.
Yeah.
So that should be motivation enough for you to go to your sponsor, your supporters, your investor, your parents, whoever. And to, make sure that your equipment and that you taking your level up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's beautiful to see in South Africa, like Benny McCarthy, he's coming from a Nova Park. He's got a heavy history and a heavy story. You know, he's the only soccer player with the Champions League, but still he wasn't given the credit and that as a player. And then when he came over as a coach, he was very good because he showed his quality at Cape Town City, at Amazulu, and then he still wasn't given the credit, you know. So now he's probably going to take over the coaching at Manchester United.
Absolutely.
Because you can see the energy that the players are emitting, you know, saying that he's working with them. And so it kind of, again, you know, Benny is a big inspiration, because when I was competing and he won the Champions League medal with Porto, it was very inspiring for me as a surfer from Grassy Park, thinking, I can't do this. You know what I mean? So
and imagine how many people have then also been inspired by you when you would have then been in Todos Santos in Mexico winning that big wave championship. And I think, sorry to cut you off there, but I think what is so interesting as you talk about this as well is this is the relationship that the Branson Centre exists to have with entrepreneurs, where we're not here to give you a broken wetsuit or a used surfboard, but rather it's to enable the entrepreneurs to access, you know, networks, market opportunities, finance, so that they can be enabled to go on to be the big wave champions or to go on and be the future coach of Manchester United in your business. And so, you know, we're talking about this collective energy that's needed to make sure that everybody is enabled. And so I'm wondering at this point, can you give us an example of how you were that surfer with a plan who exists to enable other people to be a little bit better, particularly in their relationship with the ocean?
Again, you know, my dad, Ahmed Collier, he played a big part in my life, but his love for the ocean, I think, was his main inspiration. And to see kids of all, you know, of all different backgrounds and all different shapes and sizes, like competing in the ocean and just having a chance to enjoy themselves in the ocean. So we started the Lotus River Swimming Club. So swimming was my foundation, you know, and then obviously my dad insisted that I finish matric because, you know, I just wanted to compete. And, you know, when you're a young athlete, you think, no, wait, I need to start like tomorrow with my competition. But then he insisted I matriculate. So obviously, like, you know, getting an education, you know, is very important because, yeah, you know, when I competed, I realized like how important an education is, because the practicality of competition and then the theory of school, it fits in it, you know, you realize it fits like a glove. So, but then I needed to travel because South Africa was in an apartheid state at the time, so I couldn't compete locally because I belonged to SACOS, which was the South African Council of Sport, and it was a black organization, and we had a policy and a philosophy that we couldn't, you know, we couldn't have like normal sport in an abnormal society. In a sense, like Group Areas Act, we couldn't live where we wanted to live, and we tried to buy a house in Komaki, my dad and our family, but we couldn't. And so I left South Africa in 1989, and I traveled a bit around the world, following a tour and gaining experience. Obviously, it was a bit like, you know, I wasn't doing well because I didn't have the experience and the right equipment and things like that. So also, like, don't give up. You know, never give up on your dreams. It's very important. Traveling alone and competing, it's not as nice as you think as an athlete. And no matter you're going to be a soccer player or a rugby player or a swimmer, you're going to have to go and travel and go through the airports and all the checkpoints and all the security systems in place and put up with a lot, you know, and to be able to do that and come out on the other side and still have that energy to compete, it takes a lot. So, you know, that kind of mental preparation and that never give up spirit, again, growing up in the apartheid South Africa, it molded me to become a tough person. And I was very fair-skinned where I grew up in Grassy Park, Klip Road. And then we had, like, behind me and in front of me, there was flats, and it was quite a heavy, like, it's up to today, it's gangster-ridden, and it's you know, just the social ills haven't been corrected. So obviously, like my vision and dream as an athlete and maturing in my life is to affect that, to have kind of some kind of impact on that as a older athlete and a person within the community. Just to be able to change that. I think it's everybody's dream in South Africa. I see a lot of violence and a lot of crime that's like kind of spiraling out of control in South Africa. And it's because our kids don't have any outlet of any kind, and sport and soccer and rugby can only go so far. So while we're surrounded by ocean, if our kids are not swimming in the ocean and being able to go out into the ocean and enjoy it, and the ladies don't feel free and safe just to go to the ocean and go enjoy themselves and be able to travel home safely, which is kind of like the surfing culture or any sport. The culture is for men and women to participate and children. So for me, that's also like where I am in my, like as going to be 51 years old, and I have my family, and I love to take them to the beach, and I always feel safe for them, and I always feel safe in South Africa. And I've never been in a situation where my family's lives been in jeopardy, or and I wouldn't want to be there, and I don't want to go there, So I don't think I should wait for that kind of thing to happen before we like collectively come together like we are doing now, As far as the Collier Surfing Academy and my foundation is concerned, it's going to be stemming from Lotus River. And when you guys made contact with myself and my foundation, it was obviously good news because, collective security. But on the same breath, because our foundation is small and we've just come into existence, we need as much support as we can. So immediately I put it out to your foundation to say, listen, I'm a foundation that's going to be starting, and I need support, So, Wesley came across to me and he put everything on the table, and for me, I thought, wow, this is a nice project that I'd like to be involved in, and the support can come at a later stage, So, like you say, it's about networking, and it's about preparing the entrepreneur and the athlete to be able to handle that decision that he needs to make, Because I just returned from the SA Champs and I lost in the quarterfinals because I made a wrong decision, It wasn't the waves or the other surfers, or I made a wrong decision. And when I made the decision and I took a wave that I shouldn't have taken, and then when I was done with the wave, there was still a bit of time left to correct it, but the time ran out. And I came in, realized my mistake I made, and I had to put it to bed, kind of thing, and get on with the event and supporting my other guys and the Western Province surfer that knocked me out in my heat. It could have been easy for me to be, to take the upset kind of thing and the arrogant approach, and you know what I mean. And I think also surfers need to realize that because we're so spoiled in the ocean, and we've been given the opportunity to learn how to swim, and our parents have passed on something to us about the ocean. It's actually a privilege, you know what I mean? There's not a lot of people that have that passed on to them. And for you to drop your kids at the ocean and just go on with your work and come pick them up later, it's hard for some parents to believe that you'll do that. That's almost like it's very dangerous. You shouldn't do that. So to be able to go out into the ocean, into this vast ocean, as a child, because I've done it from like a baby, and to go out into the ocean and come back again safely, or without any doubt in your mind. You know what I mean? Also, you're dealing with the ocean, and there's a lot going on under the ocean, When I teach surfing at Muizenberg, now I have a family, so they come for a lesson, and it's the daughter, the son, the mom, the dad. So it's a full spectrum of people. And then they ask their questions, and there's a lot of questions about, some will have a phobia, others are worried about the wipeout, some are worried about getting hurt. So when I asked him, is there nothing else that you'd like to know about the ocean? Like, very rarely do any people talk about sharks in the ocean, because obviously when you talk about sharks, you kind of, maybe the younger kid's going to start to panic and say he's not going to go out because he gets scared. But I've been coaching for a while now, and I think it's important, that we address all issues of the ocean.
Yeah.
Because as a coach, I'm taking you out into the ocean, but I'm not responsible for you in the ocean, because, you know what I mean? It's the ocean, So I always have to tell all my clients and remind them, like at Muizenberg Beach, we have shark spotters, and it's like the headquarters of the shark spotters. So it's in theory the safest place to teach and to go surf. And there's also a great community of surfers out in the ocean that's looking, everybody's checking out for the next person, everybody's on the lookout, You're never out in the ocean just like relaxing. You might be laying back on your board and getting a moment to getting your energy back, or staring up in the sky. But as soon as you sit up again and you back into your surfing mode, you on full.
You're connected.
Yeah, you're connected to the ocean, and you're picking up vibrations. And in my career also of surfing, I've had friends that have lost lives in the ocean, and I've had friends that have lost limbs in the ocean. So obviously, like, it's something that people need to realize, that when you go into the ocean, it's like they're dropping in the Amazon rainforest now, you know what I mean? And you might only come out in a week's time, and in the condition that you're going to come out, that's the choice you make. But in overcoming those fears of the ocean, it's like, as I coach people, and maybe the one kid will come and the other kid will say, no, he has a phobia, he will never. But then as he sees his brother or sister in the ocean, and obviously the communication that they have at home, and then he comes and he also learns and he overcomes that phobia, I think later on in life, when the parents contact me, it changes his whole life. You know what I mean? And certain other phobias that he had, that they thought that it's going to really be terrible to live his whole life like this. When you overcome the ocean, you overcome all of those other things also. And also the cleanliness, the spiritual cleanliness of the ocean. There's a reason why spiritual people go into the ocean to baptize themselves and all different things. And as surfers, there's no better feeling than that first wipeout, where, we fall off the board or whatever, and we're just thrown into the ocean. And then we come up realizing that was the fear, that all the time, that wipeout was the fear. And now we surface from the wipeout. So there's a whole new energy, you know what I mean? So it's almost like throwing that stale negative energy just there, and then a new person comes out of that, into the ocean, grabs the board and goes back again for that challenge,
I mean, what I keep smiling about is how similar what you're describing is to the entrepreneur's journey, right? Which is, you've got to get your board, get onto your board, get out there, take a moment, wipe out, get up again, but take the lessons for what they are and keep catching those waves, right? And so my last question to you, Cass, is if you could go back to the first time Cass got onto a board, what would you tell little Cass today as a master, surfing master?
I would just say, like, just keep doing what you're doing, and just be yourself. And that was my, when the first wave that I stood on, it was at Long Beach in Komaki, and it was this big foam wave that was coming towards me. And I was laying on a styrofoam board, one of these boards you could buy it at the supermarket. And I was laying on the board, and the reason why I was on that board is because I just laid down. It was like a boogie board for me. But it was actually a surfboard. And then this wave approached, and in order for me not to be hit by the wave, I turned and I caught the wave. The wave caught me.
Right.
And at that moment, as it boosted me forward, I immediately jumped up into the surfing position, because as a kid, when you move around with surfers, you dream about it. You just look at it and you think, I'm going to do that one day, So I was about 5 years old, I think. And then in riding that powerful wave, I think that's also where I got the love for bigger waves, you know. I think the moment you do things in your life, positive things, whether it's a small step, especially if it's a small step, going towards bigger steps, then I think it's a very sweet step. You know, you will always recall it like in the future, that little step that you took, you know, that little positive step. It multiplies and multiplies, you know. So, that moment of catching that wave at Long Beach, it's kind of like my whole life's journey in that one wave.
Right.
Like now that you say that, you know, as a master looking down at the student taking off, I actually wouldn't say anything.
Thank you so much, Cass, and thank you for sharing all of your wisdom, all of these stories, and I hope one day you'll teach me to surf too.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm at Muizenberg Beach. I'm waiting.
See you then.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Are all phones on silent?
My phone's off, yeah.
I think mine's on silent. Will you? Oh wait, I can. Hold on, I can actually control it from my.
Hey. Whoa.
Yes. Apple Pay. Conk.
Really?
Conk.
Okay.
Conk.
Okay.
Feels like you're not spending real money if you're just doing this there by the till. It's great.
Till you check your... Don't even look. You
just keep going until somebody says, "Sissy declined,"
Hey,
and you're like,
oh no.
and you're like, "It must be this watch." Then you go.